Howdy peeps and peoples. I got to mess with my chainsaw the other day. Trying to get it ready. We're gonna finish up this job we're on, and it's gonna be what's leftovers. Most of it's hand cut. Some big trees, some nasty laying ground, some deep dark holes and stuff like that. So I'm kind of going back in the old mode I used to have before we got all mechanized. I'm getting my saw ready. Now, back before we got all mechanized and fancy, you know, a lot of people don't know me. Well, most people on here don't know me before mechanization. I mean, we used to. There's a day that I took my chainsaw very serious. And here's sort of the rigmarole, sort of the ritual I used to go through with my saw. What you're seeing me with now is a die grinder cleaning up my rails. And this is, I've done this for years. I always kept two saws ready. And about probably if I was when I was cutting, probably I would think every 2 days, I would pull it off. I was hard on a chainsaw. I mean, I pushed hard. I always pushed hard, cut hard, and the damage to my saw bar showed. You know, so I'd touch them up, keep them touched up, and keep them right, tight and right. So you know, you kind of checking your lash on your chain to make sure there's plenty clearance on your rail. You cutting around tree, laying on your motor and stuff. You don't want you to lay on that motor and that what you shouldn't be laying on your motor coming around a tree, but everybody does. It's human nature. You lay on your motor and that pushes that chain up in that groove and that you know, like a firewood guy probably don't see it so much. There's a tool I'm using to put my rails back. I've made that. It's a homemade jobby, but it works good. Good enough. Most of my stuff, anybody that's been on this channel much knows that I pretty much choose a cheap way out on most things. Not necessarily the wrong way, just ain't into blowing money on fancies. And here I'm cleaning my oil and hoe out and all that good mess. Cleaning my bar up, getting ready to put it back on. Anybody that does these methods that's picking up from this, one advice I would have to say, there I'm cleaning my slot out. One thing I'd have to say is when you go into it, take your time. Don't just clamp down on your bar and put kinks in it and stuff. You want to go easy and be slow about it because you don't want to put tight spots in your bar. Then they get burnt, and I'm telling you from experience, I'm telling you because I've done it plenty. You don't want to put burn spots on your bar and stuff, and then that's where your bar gets weak because it gets, you know, all that stuff. Just a little bit of thought. And then Pooh shows up and goes to torment me and picking at me. And I actually get to shoot in the breeze with him, and it turns into pretty good video. So I thought I'd just let the video play and let me and Pooh's conversation just take over.
Awful lot of racket out here. Yeah. Oh. I want to dress my bar and shit. It's dull. I'm gonna put an edge on it. That's what I always dress with. Frozen wood's been playing. Now the angle I got now, this is more better for frozen wood and harder wood. But I had this side a little steeper, see that? But it actually was holding up pretty decent, but I don't know why. I was cutting frozen white oak and shit with it. The beach and
I pushed too hard on my palm.
it, a lot of you don't never do it with the oil on your chain, do you?
No.
You keep your chain dry. I'm focusing mainly back here. I'm getting my angle right where it's uphill about 5-10 degrees.
Yeah.
And I'm making sure I'm deep enough in the gullet. But my focus is right there. Yep, and if you push too hard, you get to where you screw up right at the tip. And I'm just watching that tip till it finally makes me happy. You see that tip now? Man, these are barely, well, you can feel it. Feel that one just real easy. Feel it? That's all it is. Now this wasn't dull, it just wasn't cutting like I wanted it to, you know. The way I lay on my saw, I tend to run this side a little bit. I want a little bit more tooth and a little bit more angle, just a hair. It gets the bonding up on me quicker. See, like I ain't quite happy with that yet.
I have a hard time boring with mine.
What kind of chain you using? You using chisel chain or round tooth?
Square tooth, what they call it.
Mm-hmm. Is your
That's better to bore with than the other, ain't it?
yeah? Is your gullets plenty deep? See right there?
Maybe 8.
That's a lot of that gullet. It's a big deal. See like that there? Clean that son of a bitch off instead of fucking file up over it. When this gets down to about here, you should be digging in that chain pretty good. If that helps you with a normal size file. I think it's 5/32. See, I'm just skipping above the chain right now.
Oh, I don't do bad more than I do.
It takes, you know, at this point now, I've been doing it for years, you know, to get, see like right there, that tooth is totally fucked. And that tooth is dull, but it's not totally fucked. You know, you can see these teeth, them some bitches are, But with a chisel chain, that's where it all happens, right there. You want the rest of your tooth shaped right. You know, see, look, I'm starting to touch now. I'm a hair low on this one, maybe, but I ain't gonna fret over it. Rather be too low than not low enough, unless you're, you know, the wood ain't gonna be frozen so bad when we come back. Nope. That's why it's nice to file on a truck like this when you got
Yeah, it's better to put it
nobody waiting on you. And they also tell you don't need to see no shiny, you know. You look at the tooth, the edge of the tooth, you know, it just needs to be a fine edge where you ain't got no shiny on there. But you can see, I mean, I don't know how good your glasses can help you, but you can see, and you can see the blunt on these. This one ain't as bad. It's a little better than, but this one here is, yeah, I must have hit something with it. Dad and Junkyard cut off some veneer butts on that one job with it. And I don't know if they done it or I hit something, but that's when I had to file something out. Now another thing that a lot of people don't think about, this chain, see how what little effort it takes to pull up on it? You know, which is a little snug. But when this is actually cutting, see how low this tooth is?
Yeah.
You think, well, it ain't gonna do much. But it actually, when your gullet's right, it pulls up. When it gets to that tooth, when you're pulling it through the wood. The only thing that really matters is that this is right for this. So every so often, I do put a gauge on there.
You want these here a little bit lower than the teeth, right?
Yeah, and your gauge, the gauge sets on the tooth, the gauge I use on.
I just got a damn flat file I lay on top of mine, and as long as I see a little bit of daylight.
Yeah,
that's all I
that could be.
go by.
But when you get a tooth down low like this, with that gauge, you won't even tell that. The only thing that'll happen is this some will get dull quicker than the others because it's lower on the tooth. When your teeth are newer, there's more metal there. For some reason, they don't dull as quick. When they get old, they don't hold an edge longer. But you can get them sharper than you can't. I mean, you can get them sharp as shit, and they take a narrower curve. It'll saw faster, but they won't hold their edge long. Like that tooth, I guarantee you'll be dull next time. More so than the others. Remember I told you it's fuck when I looked at it, you know what I mean? Just, and I don't really know why, but I think it has to do with less metal back there, or else maybe they don't harden them good enough back there, or what. That I really like. I like that distance, and that's about where I like my teeth anyway. You know, where this one's pretty new yet here. But I don't worry as much about counting strokes and shit like that. I get it sharp, number one. Because I'm taking my depth gauges according to each tooth. So, you know what I mean? Every once in a while before getting la-la. You know, the first when the chain's new, first file and stuff, I'll count strokes on a flat file, you know. But when the chain starts getting old, I get my gauge out. Because you got one tooth that's down, one tooth that's up. You know, this tooth and this tooth needs different attention on the depth. And then when you get that depth right, that keeps your smooth cutting going. There's no chatter. And see, like I'm pretty much figuring I'm done. These last few strokes are just to get that tip where I like it. You know, I ain't pushing hardly enough for nothing in it. And I did a decent amount of cutting with this chain, that frozen wood, for it not to be any worse than this. That's kind of surprised me. I cut nothing but beech and white oak with it, and maple, hard maple. And every bit of it's frozen. I mean, the tree this big, it's frozen in the center. See, that's a real good one. But you can see my angle's a little steeper on my right. That's just from habit of running the saw. It finally gets when I lay down to cut, I do a lot of cutting with this part of the saw down, and it lays on my bar, and it tends to push, my chain tends to be sloppier this way than it is this way. And then this here pulls this side of the chain into the wood a little bit harder. It's a thing of trying to compensate for it. It ain't perfect, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it does help. This one's bad. See, I'm figuring the tooth's done right now. I'm just trying to get the tip right. Where it looks like it can happen. You can feel it. Feel the difference in it. It ain't a lot, but it's everything. I mean, it wasn't like it wasn't cutting when I got done. It just, I was pushing on it. See, like now the tooth's done. I'm just trying to get that son of a bitch to where it went. Shit. And if you watch, you'll get kind of waves across it. That's why them last few strokes is light, and try to be more precise with them, you know. In the beginning, you're eating, and in the end, you're just cleaning up, you know. That's pretty bad. See, now it's the falling's done. See, I'm touching the tooth now on the bottom, or not the tooth, but the chain. See how I'm getting in the chain now? That way I know my depth is good. I'm getting plenty low on my gullet. But on a brand new chain, you can get too low. You know, when it starts wearing down, you start getting shorter in the tooth. See, I'm figuring the file's done. I'm just trying to. That's why an old dull file ain't worth a shit, because you got to push hard enough to get it to eat. And when you get to pushing that hard, you can't make it sharp because you're pushing, you know. That tooth is just shaped wrong. Good enough, but it ain't right. That tooth ain't right. I'll run it, but it ain't right. See, that din runs that round. It's semi-chisel, and you fall it steeper back, and you go switch back and forth from it to this. The chisel chain ain't meant to be kicked back that far, but that other chain you have to kick it back far. That's how you do like a round style tooth chain, you know. Like if you got a round tooth chain that you're used to running dirt and shit, and you want to make it bore, they are impossible to bore. You got to get them steep and deep, you know, to get them to do anything. But the chisel chain is not so much, it's just getting that outside corner sharp. And getting your gullet low enough to where the angle's right to pull that chip out so it keeps digging good. See, that tooth's tore up. Now on pine and poplar and stuff like that, we used to get on that quite a bit back when we was hard up and couldn't buy good timber. You getting that shit, you can go real steep and deep on it, and then somebody just throw slivers out like you can't do that and tear into oak and beech and maple.
Well, I'll go home and feed the cows now.
I'm gonna get this done. I'm getting the hell out of here too. We ain't logging tomorrow. You all sawing, ain't you? I guess.
You logging tomorrow?
No, she said too sloppy. Dad was hoping it'd freeze up a little bit in the morning, but if we're wrong, it's gonna be bad. So, and we ended up on that long skid down there. It sucks. This job sucks. It's horrible. I guess I'll work on shit with the shop with the guys. I'll check over here first and make sure you don't need anybody. What's your pallet stock days this week? Thursday and Saturday? Friday and Saturday?
Today's Monday, so it's all Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
If I'm still around Friday, you want to do the plate then? We got to chip that concrete off that they put on there. I'll check this week.
You tell your mom to order some
No,
barley.
forgot. Yeah, you might. Forgot. See,
Hey, Mom.
you know I'd forget it, didn't you? I can't look after you every day.
I thought I'd show a little close up. I don't focus good, so you can't really tell much. And I do a few strokes. Some people like to do hard, quick strokes, and then I don't like to file that way. I don't care if there's two skidders sitting there; they can wait. When I get my saw right, there's going to be wood hitting the ground. So I don't let anybody rush me into putting a crappy filing job on a saw, especially when it's warm outside, because all that crappy filing is going to do is get you wore out. And then you're going to do a crappy job of cutting, and you're going to be fighting it, and the tree's going to be setting back on you, and stuff's not going to be going predictable. So get your saw right. It starts with a sharp, smooth cutting saw, always. And the other advice I got to a young buck getting out there and starting to production cut and stuff like that, I always carried 2 saws ready to roll in my truck at all times when I was cutting a decent amount. I always kept 2 saws ready, and don't screw around and wait till the next morning to get your stuff right. Every evening before you go home, get that saw right. Get that sucker to where you're ready to grab it out of the truck full of fuel, grab it out of the truck next morning, jump off the skidder and start a whacking. And it just makes your day go better. Get yourself warmed up early in the morning and going. I was always I hated going to the woods, and even when I skidded off of somebody, I hated going to the woods. That's one good thing Raji taught me years ago. Get that sucker ready. When you bail off that skidder in the morning, you jump out there and get after it. So, anyways, I'll shut up, and I guess that's it. I'm sure there's 1,000 things I left out, but whatever. It's good enough. But thanks everybody for watching. Later. Okay, and I figured I had to say this before I shut the video off. Those of you that's experienced cutters and stuff that's in tune, and you all know what I mean. I'm not in tune. I'm out of tune, but I'm starting to get back in the groove. I'm running about 85-90% of being what I'm calling tune good. So, if you see me miss little knickknacks, you're not missing nothing. It's probably me, but it takes a bit.